You wake up every single day carrying a power that could completely transform your reality, but no one ever taught you how to use it. Meanwhile, you spend your entire life searching outside yourself for something that's already pulsing inside you with every heartbeat. And the most ironic part? You've been convinced that you're weak, limited, and dependent on external circumstances to be happy. That's the biggest lie ever told to humanity. Organized religions want you to believe you need intermediaries to access the divine. Society wants you to believe you need more money, more status, more achievements to finally feel whole. And you accept these lies because everyone around you accepts them too. But what if all of this is just a smokescreen hiding a truth so simple and so powerful that it would change everything the moment you truly understood it? Itzhak Bentov, one of the greatest researchers of consciousness, dedicated his life to unraveling this mystery. And what he discovered goes against everything you've been taught. The power you're seeking isn't in temples, it isn't in gurus, it isn't in complicated rituals. It's encoded in your own structure, waiting to be activated. And in the next few minutes, you're going to understand exactly how this works and why your life will never be the same after this revelation. Get ready, because what comes next challenges everything you thought you knew about yourself. We all carry something extraordinary with us, something that goes unnoticed amid the rush of daily life, the worries that flood our minds the moment we wake up, the doubts that visit us in the quiet of the night. This something isn't locked away in vaults or hidden in far-off places. It's right here, right now, pulsing in every cell of your body, breathing with every rise and fall of your chest. Yet very few people know it's there, and even fewer know how to use it. That's the great paradox of human existence. Possessing what we seek most and living as if we were beggars asking for crumbs at the door of a palace that already belongs to us. Imagine a master key that can open every door you've always believed was locked. Doors to genuine inner peace, to authentic relationships, to prosperity that flows without desperate struggle, to health that doesn't depend solely on medicine and external treatments. This key doesn't need to be bought, earned, or merited through endless sacrifice. It was given to you the moment you came into the world, but no one taught you to recognize it. The education we receive, the society that shaped our thinking, everything conspired to make you forget that you carry this power. The physical body you inhabit isn't just flesh and bone held together by random chemical reactions. Every heartbeat, every breath that fills your lungs, every thought that crosses your mind, all of it is the visible manifestation of an invisible force that sustains you. This force doesn't come from outside. It isn't borrowed. No external circumstance can take it away. It is the very essence of who you are. But the mind has been trained to always look outward, seeking approval, validation, power in things that can be lost, in people who can leave, in achievements that fade with time. Look around you right now. Everything you see, from the phone or computer in front of you to the walls surrounding you, began as a thought in someone's mind. Before it became solid matter, it was an idea, a vision, a desire to create. And where did this ability to turn the invisible into the visible, the abstract into the concrete, come from? It came from the same source that keeps your heart beating without you having to think about it, that coordinates billions of cells in perfect harmony while you sleep, that heals cuts on your skin without conscious instructions. That source is universal intelligence expressing itself through you. Most people live as if they're separate from this intelligence, as if they have to negotiate with it, beg for its blessings, prove themselves worthy of its favors. They spend their whole lives trying to become deserving of something they already possess by birthright. It's like someone who inherits a fortune but never opens the will, living in poverty while millions wait for their signature. The master key is already in your hands, but you've been convinced you don't know where it is or that you're incapable of using it. And so the days pass, weeks turn into months, months into years, and life goes by without this power ever being consciously activated. But something has changed in this very moment. Something inside you recognized the truth of these words. It's no coincidence that you're here right now, reading or listening to this. Nothing in life happens by chance. You were guided to this point because the time has come for you to awaken. The universe is conspiring in your favor, not against you. And the first revelation you need to anchor deeply within yourself is this. You are not a human being trying to have a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience. This shift in understanding changes everything. Absolutely everything. And that change begins the moment you recognize the key that has always been in your hand. The question is no longer, where is the power? But rather, why have I chosen to live as if I didn't have it? So why do so many people live without accessing this power? Why does the key remain unused even though it's right there, available, waiting? The answer may surprise you with its simplicity and, at the same time, its depth. The greatest enemy of awakening isn't lack of knowledge or the absence of elaborate spiritual technique. The real obstacle is a belief so ancient, so deeply rooted in human consciousness, that it has become invisible. That belief is the illusion of separation. From the moment you were born, you were taught to see yourself as an isolated individual, separate from the rest of existence. You were given a name that sets you apart from others, a body that seems to contain you within clearly defined boundaries, a mind that appears locked inside your skull. The language you learned reinforces this separation with every word, I and they, mine and yours, inside and outside. The entire structure of society is built on this perception that we are independent entities competing for limited resources, each fighting for survival. This programming is so deep that it has become automatic. You don't question it, you don't investigate it, you simply assume that's how things are. And from that false premise, an entire life is built. A life based on fear, because if you're truly separate from everything and everyone, then you're fundamentally alone and vulnerable. You need to protect yourself, defend yourself, hoard resources to ensure your safety. You need to prove your worth, claim your space, win the battle of existence. And so fear becomes the primary driver of your actions, decisions, and relationship. But all that fear is built on a lie. The truth is that separation was never real. What you call you is actually a point of consciousness through which universal intelligence observes and experiences itself. Your body isn't an isolated fortress. Every atom in it once belonged to distant stars, ancient trees, deep oceans. The oxygen your lungs take in right now was exhaled by plants all over the world. The very act of breathing is a constant exchange between you and everything around you. Where do you end and the world begin? The mind was designed to navigate the physical world, to solve practical problems, to distinguish one thing from another. But at some point in human evolution, the mind started believing its distinctions were absolute, that the lines it draws are real, impenetrable boundaries. The feeling of being a separate I is a useful convention for functioning in the world, but it is not the truth of your being. And the cost of this illusion is enormous. Living as if you're separate from the source of life means living in perpetual lack, always feeling something is missing, always seeking wholeness outside yourself. It means believing power lies elsewhere, in the hands of others, in external circumstances. It means spending your whole life as a spiritual beggar, asking the universe for what already flows through you. But this veil can be dissolved through understanding. Genuine understanding that you were never separate changes everything instantly. It's like waking from a nightmare and realizing the monsters were never real. And from that understanding arises a new way of living, based not on fear but on trust, not on lack but on fullness. This realization of oneness isn't just beautiful philosophy or spiritual poetry to comfort the soul. It's the most accurate description of reality you can reach. Think about the ocean for a moment. In it, millions of waves constantly form, each with its own unique movement, specific height, particular direction. From a distance, you'd say they're different waves, separate from one another. Each wave has its own identity, its own journey from the moment it forms until it breaks on the shore. But ask any of those waves what its essence is, and the answer is always the same: water. They're all made of the same substance, they all belong to the same ocean, they all return to the same source. You are like one of those waves. Your personality, your experiences, your specific challenges, all of that gives you a unique shape, a singular expression in this world. No one else has exactly the same combination of traits you do. No one else sees the world through your eyes, feels with your heart, thinks with your mind. You are genuinely unique, and that uniqueness is precious. But the essence that animates you, the consciousness that looks out through your eyes, the life that pulses in every cell, that isn't your private property. It's the same force that moves everything, from the smallest particle to the most distant galaxies. And just as the wave doesn't need to search for the ocean, because it already is the ocean, you don't need to search for divine power, because you are its expression. The wave doesn't become more ocean by striving, sacrificing, or proving its worth. It simply is ocean, always has been, always will be. And so are you. The power you're seeking isn't waiting in some distant temple, reserved for enlightened saints, or requiring decades of meditation in isolated caves. It's here now, sustaining your existence, allowing you to read or hear these words, pumping blood through your veins, processing information, generating thoughts. But the conditioned mind resists this truth. It says, it can't be that simple. If I already have this power, why doesn't my life reflect it? Why do I still struggle, still suffer, still feel fear? That resistance is understandable. The mind has been trained to complicate things, to seek elaborate solutions, to believe important things require heroic effort. But the deepest truth is always simple. The sun doesn't struggle to shine, the tree doesn't struggle to grow, the heart doesn't struggle to beat. Everything flows naturally from essence. The problem isn't that you lack the power. The problem is that you believe you lack it. And that belief creates an invisible barrier between you and the manifestation of that power. It's like a wave that forgot it's the ocean and spends its whole life thirsty, surrounded by water on all sides. The thirst isn't real, but the feeling of it is. Suffering has no true foundation, but the experience of it is genuine. And that experience will continue until the moment you remember who you really are. Remembering doesn't mean acquiring something new. It means removing what obscures what's already present. It means letting go of the layers of conditioning that have covered your true nature. It means stopping the pretense of being just the wave and recognizing that you are the entire ocean expressing itself through this particular form. And this remembrance doesn't come from more intellectual knowledge or accumulating more information about spirituality. It comes from a fundamental shift in perception, a turn in consciousness that happens in an instant but whose effects echo throughout your entire existence. And the first step toward that shift is understanding how you've already been using the power you possess. And this power you already possess manifests in a very specific, very practical way that happens every second of your day. It happens through the thoughts that pass through your mind. Each thought you generate isn't just random mental activity that begins and ends inside your skull. Every thought is a seed you plant in the invisible field of universal energy. And just as every seed carries within it the full potential of the plant it will become, every thought carries within it the full potential of the reality it will manifest. Thoughts are the language you use to communicate with the universe, not a language of formal words or complex grammar, but a language of vibration, frequency, resonance. Each thought emits an energy wave that propagates beyond the boundaries of your physical body. That wave interacts with the quantum field of reality, with the invisible web that connects all things, and begins organizing possibilities into patterns that match the nature of that thought. You are literally sculpting your future reality with every thought you allow to dwell in your mind in the present. But here's the crucial point most people don't understand. The universe doesn't judge your thoughts as good or bad, positive or negative, worthy or unworthy of manifestation. It simply responds. It's like a perfect mirror that reflects back whatever you project. If you constantly think about scarcity, lack, limitation, the universe says yes and shows you more scarcity, more lack, more limitation. Not because it's punishing you or because you're unworthy, but because it's faithfully responding to your command. In the same way, if you think about abundance, possibilities, expansion, the universe says yes and starts aligning circumstances, people, and opportunities that match that frequency. The tragedy is that most people are unaware of the thoughts they cultivate. The mind has been left on autopilot, repeating old patterns, ruminating on worries, reliving past traumas, projecting fears into the future. And all that mental noise is creating, manifesting, shaping your life experience, but unconsciously, chaotically, and usually in unwanted ways. It's like having a magic paintbrush where everything you draw becomes real, but using it while asleep, creating nightmares instead of masterpieces. Have you ever noticed how people who live in fear of illness often get sick? How those who fear betrayal end up attracting relationships where betrayal occurs? How those who constantly think about debt never seem to escape it? It's not bad luck, cruel fate, or divine punishment. It's the power of thoughts in action. Those repeated thoughts create a corresponding reality because the universe is always saying yes to whatever you focus your attention on. Energy flows where attention goes, and reality forms where energy concentrates. Now imagine what happens when you consciously align your thoughts with your divine essence. Instead of thinking from fear and limitation, you start thinking from trust and abundance. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances, you recognize yourself as a channel of universal creative power. This shift in the quality of your thoughts instantly changes the quality of energy you emit, and consequently changes the kind of experiences you attract into your life. And this transformation doesn't start tomorrow or after circumstances improve. It starts the moment you decide to take conscious control of your inner world. This understanding of the power of thoughts leads to an inner revolution that completely changes how you position yourself in life. Because if your thoughts are seeds of manifestation, if energy follows attention, if the universe responds to your inner commands, then you are not a passive victim of circumstances. You are an active creator of your reality. And this isn't just a nice motivational idea to lift your spirits on tough days. It's the exact description of how consciousness operates in this universe. But living as a victim is tempting because it comes with hidden benefits. Living as a victim means you never have to take full responsibility for your life. You can always point to external factors, the economy, the government, family, the past, other people, and say, that's why my life is like this. Living as a victim lets you hold onto your complaints, justify your unhappiness, and stay comfortable in the familiar zone of suffering. Because recognizing your power as a creator also means recognizing that everything you've experienced so far was, on some level, the result of your own vibrations, your own thought patterns, your own conscious or unconscious choices. And that realization can be frightening at first. The mind resists, saying, but I would never choose to suffer, never choose hardship, never choose these painful experiences. And it's right, you didn't choose them consciously. But unconsciously, through patterns of fear, inherited limiting beliefs, and identification with separation, you were emitting a frequency that attracted exactly those experiences. Not as punishment, but as a perfect reflection of your inner state. The universe can't give you what you want. It can only give you what you are. But here's the extraordinary news. If you created all this unconsciously, imagine what you can create consciously. If your misaligned thoughts, fears, and limiting beliefs could manifest an entire reality, imagine what happens when you intentionally align your thoughts with the truth of your being. Imagine what happens when you consciously recognize that you are a channel of divine power, that the same intelligence that keeps planets in orbit and heals wounds effortlessly flows through you every moment. This was the central message of all the great spiritual masters who ever walked the earth. Jesus didn't say, I'm special and you're ordinary. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within you, and the things I do, you will do also, and greater things than these. The Buddha didn't say, I achieved something impossible for you. He said every being possesses Buddha nature, the capacity to awaken. The masters didn't come to be worshipped as exceptions. They came to remind you of what you already are. They came to point the way back home, to the remembrance of your own divinity. And this transition from victim to conscious creator doesn't happen through one dramatic event. It happens through small daily choices, through micro-decisions that gradually realign the entire trajectory of your life. It happens the moment you choose to respond with love instead of fear. It happens when you choose to see possibilities instead of limitations. It happens when you stop waiting for the outer world to change before you change inside, and instead change inside so the outer world reflects that change. And this journey of transformation follows very specific principles that need to be understood and applied. This inner transformation you're being invited to experience isn't about becoming something you're not. It's about allowing what has always been latent within you to surface. Think of the caterpillar that turns into a butterfly. It doesn't learn to fly by taking courses or studying theories about flight. The ability to fly, the butterfly's shape, the colors of its wings, everything was already encoded in the caterpillar's DNA from the beginning. Metamorphosis doesn't add anything new. It simply allows the hidden potential to manifest in all its glory. And you carry within you a potential far greater than the life you're currently living allows you to express. But unlike the caterpillar, whose transformation is automatic and instinctive, your spiritual metamorphosis requires conscious participation. It requires you to create the inner conditions for this transformation to occur. And those conditions are built through specific practices that realign your consciousness with the truth of your being. The first of these practices is conscious observation. You need to learn to become the witness of your own thoughts, without identifying with them, without judging them as good or bad. Simply observe the flow of the mind like someone watching waves in the ocean. They come, they go, they come, they go, but you remain as the consciousness that observes. Because you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your stories. You are the divine power that watches all of it unfold. This conscious observation creates space between you and the mind's automatic patterns. In that space, freedom of choice emerges. You can decide which thoughts to feed and which to simply let pass. You can decide where to place your attention instead of being dragged along by mental autopilot. And in that space, the second practice is born, intentional alignment. Every morning, before the outer world floods your consciousness with its demands and distractions, set aside a few minutes to reconnect with your essence. Breathe deeply, feel life pulsing in your body, and declare with conviction, I am a channel of divine power. Everything I need flows naturally through me. Not as an empty mantra, but as a statement of truth you're anchoring in your consciousness. This morning practice tunes your vibrational frequency for the entire day. It's like tuning an instrument before playing. Everything that follows will sound more harmonious. And from that inner alignment, you move into the third practice, inspired action. This means acting from trust rather than fear, listening to the inner voice that always knows the right next step, and following that guidance with faith, even if you don't fully understand where it's leading. Because the mind wants detailed maps, guarantees, security. But the spirit moves through intuition, subtle impulses, synchronicities that only make sense afterward. These three practices, conscious observation, intentional alignment, and inspired action, work together to dissolve the layers of conditioning that obscure your natural power. They aren't complicated techniques requiring years of training. They're simple, direct, and accessible to anyone at any time. And the results start appearing quickly, not as dramatic external miracles, but as a subtle shift in the quality of your life experience. More inner peace even amid outer chaos, more natural synchronicities, greater clarity in decisions, deeper trust in the flow of life. And that's just the surface of what becomes possible. So tell me, after everything you've just discovered, are you going to keep living as if you're just a victim of circumstances? Or are you finally going to take conscious control of the power that has always been yours? The truth is, you don't need more information. You need application. Start tomorrow with the 3 practices. Observe your thoughts, align intentionally when you wake up, act from trust. And leave a comment below. Which of these practices will you implement first? What was the biggest revelation from this video for you? If this content awakened something in you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because this journey is just beginning, and the next videos will take you even deeper into understanding your own consciousness. The universe isn't waiting. Your power isn't waiting. The transformation starts now.